Welcome to the My K-12 Career Radio Podcast with career advice, uplifting stories, and life lessons from K-12 educators just like you. And now, your host, Mr. Joseph Williams III.
What's up, K-12 Nation? This is Joseph, and welcome to the My K-12 Career Radio Podcast, where I talk with amazing K-12 educators every single week. Today we have on the show Dr. Joshua Garcia. Josh is from Tacoma, Washington. He received his bachelor's degree from Washington State University, his master's degree from Heritage University, and his doctorate from Seattle University. Josh began his K-12 career as a teacher in Duvall, Washington. Later on in his career, he began working as a high school principal, and he currently works for Tacoma Public Schools as the Deputy Superintendent. Josh has dedicated his K-12 career to closing the achievement gap and serving the whole child. In his role as Deputy Superintendent, Josh prioritizes the creation of flexible learning and operational systems to serve the whole child and foster success for all students. So let's go right to the interview and hear what Josh has to share with K-12 Nation.
Josh, we are so happy you came on the show to share with K-12 Nation. I've told K-12 Nation a little bit about you through your bio. Why don't you fill in the blanks and tell us what's going on in your life and in your career right now?
Oh, great. Well, I think like many educators, I'm balancing family with career, and it's kind of like running from one side of the teeter-totter to the next without falling off. So it's exciting. I don't think there's a clear separation as an administrator of education and when the day ends. I think through technology we're connected 24/7, and that's also a benefit. I think you can stay connected to your family in multiple ways that way.
That's very true. So how many years have you been a K-12 educator, and did you always want to work in this field?
I've been in the field for 17, 18 years now, and no, growing up I don't think I really had a lot of guidance what career opportunities were. Kind of went to higher education through default, through sports, and then kind of floundered my way through that until I was exposed to potential careers in education and thinking about working with kids to support them so that they wouldn't have to go through some of the same trials and tribulations.
Okay. Now, Josh, you have your doctorate degree and you're a deputy superintendent. What do you love most about your current position, and what do you like least about your current position?
Well, I love the most about my current position is working with a group of caring adults in the city to try to move the needle on student achievement by our agreed-upon benchmarks. And that's just exhilarating work when we can, as a city, agree on what success is and then come together to build action plans and then have those action plans come into reality, all knowing that each moment we are able to pull that off, we can see more kids be successful with clarity. And I think the most frustrating part about it is when there are people in society that want to be naysayers or attack good work solely for political reasons.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're right, and this is the most important work there is, the future of our children, so I definitely agree with you there.
You bet.
Josh, I believe that after parents, K-12 educators have the greatest impact on our youth. Can you share with K-12 Nation about a student whose life you've impacted for the better?
Sure, but I think it's important to know that my goal is as a district administrator is to develop a system where no kids know who I am. I feel like if I do my job, that there are true systems and there are quality people that are working with kids every day in the classroom and the building level and in the neighborhood, that the success will be shared success across the whole city and it won't be one person. And so I really work hard to make sure that we have systems that are aligned, that support both the students as well as educators and the families in the neighborhood. I think I learned that through a young man named Jason. I'm a recovering high school principal in my previous life as well.
Okay.
And Jason didn't really have a lot of family support, and just working with him to navigate the system, whether it was trying to get him a job and how he got a Social Security card so that he could get a job, to helping him through athletic eligibility appeals, and watching him not have people that were able to advocate on his behalf really taught me a lot about how the system by default should be advocating for individual kids, especially the most vulnerable ones. And that was really critical.
Wow. You talked about how the system is supposed to be set up in such a way that somebody in your position would not even know children at the school level. In your position, do you work mainly with principals of schools, or what is your job all about?
Now, I appreciate that. But one clarifying point is I believe passionately that I should know the kids. I just don't want them to have to know me.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
So as I work with my teams, I'm constantly looking at data, and I'm boiling it down to each specific kid, and I'm asking what's the action plan for that kid.
Okay.
So for what their success is. And I think it's really critical, and people in my role don't just look at trend data, but boil the data down all the way down to that specific student. So I know specifically when the parent has been contacted, when they haven't been contacted, what have we tried that worked, what have we tried that didn't work, what do we plan on trying, when's the next opportunity for success. And I'm constantly monitoring that both at a district level, down to a building level, down to a classroom level, down to a kid level. And then you build systems that help you do that more effectively and efficiently. So I spend a lot of time working with the people, not only that are working directly with principals, but also with the community, teaching them about what's actually happening in schools, what's the reality of the data, what are the limitations of the data, trying to align community efforts to support the work that we're happening in the schools, as well as trying to align the schools' work to support what's happening in the community. We talk often about that the schools have them for 1/3 of the day, meaning the kids.
Right.
And he has them for 2/3 of the day. And learning doesn't stop at 2:25. So how do we really align, support, and honor learning that happens 24/7, 365 days a year?
Love it. Now, you've done real well in your career, Josh. Did you have a mentor who you leaned on for guidance in your K-12 career?
You know, I've had more than one, and I've been extremely fortunate, and I stay connected with them regularly, and some of them, even if they've retired, I go out of my way to, whether it's have a cup of coffee once a month or lunch, and some that I see more regularly. We really stay focused on the conversation about what is leadership versus the technical aspects of a specific job, and what is it that I'm trying to do, what is it that I should be anticipating, what is it that I am missing. And so I've just been extremely fortunate in that area. And then as a system, I've taken that same value and belief and said, we have to have coaches in our buildings, instructional coaches that are non-evaluators. Right. We have to provide our own principals, coaches, and mentors outside the people that are helping them through the traditional evaluation process. And so feel very passionate that everybody can get better, and that doesn't mean that we're operating from a deficit model, but really a growth mindset model.
I totally agree. Has being on LinkedIn helped you network and helped your K-12 career?
Yeah, I think not only LinkedIn, but other social media has allowed me to see different examples from across the nation, and I think globally. And I think sometimes there's small ideas that spark an interest where I'm saying, well, what would that look like here in Tacoma? Sometimes they're bigger ideas. Sometimes they've helped establish a relationship where I can reach out to folks, learn from them, as well as hopefully offer the opportunity to give back to the profession.
Excellent. If you could recommend one book for our K-12 Nation listeners, what would it be and why?
I have it right here next to me. It's kind of one that I keep close to me. It's Crossing the Unknown Sea, Work as a Pilgrimage of Identity, and it's written by David White.
Oh, okay.
And it's a good reminder for me to refer back to the text to ask myself, what's the bigger piece that I'm trying to connect here? I'm not trying to move standardized test scores. Well, what am I trying to do? How is my work not just a job? How do I shape the work that I'm in and not just have the work shape me? And that's been extremely helpful.
Excellent. That's a good segue into my next question. Can you name one daily habit that you believe contributes to your K-12 career success, and why?
I think looking in the mirror and just pausing and asking myself, really, so what did you do and so what? So what does that mean for kids? And I found that, no one's going to hold me more accountable than I'm going to hold myself.
Excellent.
And at the same time, if I don't have the responsibility to look in the mirror and ask myself the so what questions, then I've failed that day.
Wow. Well, Josh, it's 2015. Where do you see yourself in 2020, 5 years from now?
I don't know, and I've really let go of that. I've learned a long time ago, when, especially when we're talking with kids, as a society, we recognize that, the careers that kids are going to have 5, 10 years from now haven't even been invented. And
That's true.
I'm not one that says, here's the next title that I want. I want to make sure that truly every kid graduates, that every kid has an acceptance into the next stage of their life that's been verified, not just a dream, and really work on building an aligned community.
Right.
The career will take care of itself if I do those things. And sometimes I think we as educators, we put ourselves on timelines that are unnecessary.
Yeah. Now, when you say that, is that kind of how your career has gone? Did it just kind of happen? You just did a great job in the current position we're in, and it created more opportunities for the next position?
I think to some degree, yes. I mean, did I have desires to play a greater influence? Yes. But I've also learned that the best opportunities is to be a part of a successful team. And
okay.
Your role in that team can ebb and flow, can flex, and that's the sweet spot, when you can find a space where you're a part of a successful team that is all rowing in the same boat, in the same direction, all on behalf of kids and not on their personal desires. And like I said, I think then your career steps naturally take care of themselves, and I think people will want to come out and find out more about not only your organization, but you as an individual leader, and that will ultimately create more opportunities.
Okay. If you had to do it all over again, Josh, would you still become a K-12 educator?
Oh, that's a great question. What would it be like to play in front of 7,000 people as a rock, or throw the winning touchdown pass?
Yeah.
I'm happy. And I'm happy by the work that I'm in. I'm very fortunate that work allows me to be a part of an organization that has me in a job that I feel very privileged to be in. And so, yes, today I would do it all over again.
Excellent. What is one success quote that you live by?
One success quote that I live by. I believe passionately that our jobs is to inspire and to educate. Inspire comes from the Latin term inspara, means to breathe life in. And educate comes from the Latin term educare, to draw knowledge out. So I try to daily live in a manner that breathes life into people and draws the knowledge and expertise out of them.
Inspire and educate. Love it. Josh, my final question for you is a big one. Are you ready?
I'm going to try.
Imagine you are the Secretary of Education for the United States of America. If you had the power to change one thing, what would it be and why?
I would have a clear definition of success for every student in America.
Okay.
And that definition, and the reason why, is I believe that if we all agreed on what success is for every child, we would truly then address the disparities that we have. And I think we now are hiding behind different definitions of success and saying, yeah, but. And so if we truly believe that every kid should be college eligible, then let's design a system that allows us to do that, not just for some kids, but all kids. If we truly believe that they should be safe, then we should define that and we should measure it.
Great answer, Josh. Josh, I want to thank you for coming on the My K-12 Career Radio podcast and sharing with K-12 Nation. But before you leave, would you please give K-12 Nation some parting words of guidance? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
My words of advice is just what you said, is stay connected. This work can be lonely work at times, but you're not alone. Reach out to folks, take risks, ask people that you admire or respect, what are you doing, how are you doing it? Try to learn, model the way. If we believe that learning is the answer to the future, then we should model the way by recognize that we don't have the answers right now, but together we can create shared meaning around a better life.
Well said, Josh. Josh, I want to thank you once again for coming on the show. I want to salute you for the great work that you're doing up there in Washington, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
K-12 Nation, thank you for joining us on the My K-12 Career Radio podcast. Please remember that you are the sum total of the 5 people that you hang around the most. So always surround yourself with like-minded, positive people who are only going to lift you higher. Visit myk12career.com for links and show notes to everything we chatted about today, as well as resources that will help you take your K-12 career to the next level. Are you subscribed to the My K-12 Career Radio podcast? You can subscribe through iTunes and listen every week to what amazing educators are doing in schools across the U.S. and the world. Please tell your friends and coworkers about the My K-12 Career Radio podcast. Also, if you want to share your story with K-12 Nation, please complete the podcast guest interest form on myk12career.com. Have an inspired day, and remember that as K-12 educators, we make all other professions possible. Please never give up on your students, never give up on your staff, or this noble K-12 profession, because you are definitely valued and you are most certainly needed. Until next time, keep the faith.